As a result of the time constraints, we are going to take a look at another problem. And the problem we'll be taking a look at is this one. Write down a computer solution for finding the standard deviation for a given set of values of x. Standard deviation is given by SD is equal to square root of the summation of continuous difference between a particular x and then x bar. X bar is usually how we write the mean, okay? And then the number of numbers is supposed to be divided by, it's supposed to divide whatever expression that we have over there. Please take note of this. Looking at this particular question, there is something that is so obvious that you need to know, which is the x bar over here. And the x bar is the mean. You've seen x bar before. X bar is the mean. And then now we have I moving from 1 to n. That's basically what this is. So when you see this, you should know that we are talking about a loop. To find the mean, you find all the sum and then divide by the number of items. This particular question should have been solved in the case that we have this item. What's the name? Right? In the case we have an array, okay. But because we do not know about arrays, we are going to do it without the array concept. So we are going to be taking the input several times for, like, it should be the same input. We don't give the same input. Basically, I'm trying to create a type of understanding over here. It's supposed to be the same input. So you need to sort of get, and then basically let's start and then in the long run, whatever we get under the square root sign, we have to find the square root of, and then finally that becomes our standard deviation. So the x bar is the mean, and the sigma sign is for aggregation, finding the sum. So let's begin. All right, so to begin, let me delete this stuff here. And then I pull this up. I'm going to be sort of typing whatever I'm doing. All right, so in here I have I'm supposed to find the mean. So the mean, I'm going to call my mean x bar. But before I even do that, the user should tell me the number of numbers that are supposed to come. So number of numbers. In the question we said it's called n. Make things simple. Let me just call it n. Okay. I've always been an advocate of somebody using a variable name that is detailed, like makes sense. When I say n somewhere, at least you will get what n is. But anyways, the number of numbers n. After we get to know that, what we'll do next right now is to, from the question, taking values from someone for about n number of times. And then after getting the values, what we would want to do is to basically calculate the sum and eventually the mean. So let me set my mean. No, let me just set sum, num sum, and call it num sum here. Num sum is now equal to 0, right? So I need a for loop for I. Let me make it x. I has suffered. For x equals 1 to n. Okay. And for each time the value of x is going to be changing, what I'll need to do is to ask the user for an input number, right? Input a new number. So when the user inputs a number, I'm going to say sum is equal to sum plus the number. And then when I'm done, I'll just end my for loop. The moment I end my for loop now, next thing I do is I want to calculate the mean. So basically the mean is what we call the x bar. Since I have sum, hey, the name was actually num sum. Num sum. Num sum. So because I know the number of numbers over here, I'm basically going to, what do you call it, say num sum divided by n, and that gives us the mean. So x bar in this case is the mean. All right, now that we are done finding x bar, we need to be able to find a difference between the, what do you call it, let me bring you here. Over here, what we have to do now is we have the value of x bar. So for each number that the user entered before, there's a particular structure that would have saved the items. But over here, we don't have that structure. So we are going to take the values from the user again. So in this case, we are taking the mean out. We are looping from 1 to n. We are taking the mean out of whichever number the user is going to enter. And then whatever we get, we will sum it. Okay. So let's think of a variable that can do that particular work for us. So we'll call this variable subtraction. Okay, that's going to be the sum of the subtraction. That's what I'm calling it. Subtraction. If you don't understand, go away. Subtraction. Okay, don't go away. Let's continue that thing you. Okay, so subtraction now equals 0, and then don't go away. Okay, I can see some people have taken offense. Let's continue with the something that acting emotional. All right, so subtraction is going to be like this. Then we have to get a loop that's going to move from 1 to n, and then now input n again. We are going to be taking number again. Okay, after we take number, what we would want to do is subtraction. Subtraction over here is supposed to have the value of subtraction, right, plus the particular number the user entered minus x bar, right. The moment we get it this way, we end our 4, and then assuming there is a method for finding the square root, we will say that sd, which is a new variable we are creating, is equal to that method. The method usually has been called sqrt. I should have talked about it in the question. But anyways, if there is a method like that called sqrt, then having sqrt, we'll just say that find a square root of subtraction. That's all. And that basically offended gives us a standard deviation. Take note, there's a structure for taking the number the user entered, okay, based on positioning. And since we've not done anything of that sort, that's how come we are supposed to be doing this carpentry style, taking the numbers all over again and then like that, right? So this is more or less the standard deviation.